Welcome to Fortyborn, the Limited Lorcana podcast. We're a gaming veteran
and a gaming novice.
Discuss all things Lorcana. With a focus on limited formats, we cover set reviews, strategy guides, and stuff that nobody asked for.
Let's get this bread.
Wow, I thought that's what you'd go for, but...
It seemed like the low-hanging fruit.
Nice, yeah.
Or grain.
Okay. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, but I still got it, I think I realized.
Got what?
Like, still got it.
Like the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. I mean, taking 2 weeks off. Toes in the water.
Mm-hmm. Bum in the sand.
Yeah.
Cold.
How was Mexico?
Cold beverage in hand. It was great. Fantastic. Cannot say a bad word about it. A little cloudy one day. Came back real sick, but that was probably my own doing.
Wow, couldn't say a bad word about it and found a way to sneak some in.
Other than all that, best time ever.
So should I complain about my bougie vacation now?
Probably. Yeah, I think that's what the listeners love.
No, we had a great time.
Yeah.
You can't tell them have a little cold. But
yeah.
That's not from the Bahamas.
No.
Well, I don't know what it's from.
Probably
you.
Everyone's sick, dude. I've been sick for like a month and a half. So
Chris has been sick for like 4 months straight.
Really?
Yeah. He got misdiagnosed and then got like walking pneumonia.
As opposed to sitting pneumonia. I'm so glad the listeners can't see your face. The utter disappointment.
They're also glad they can't see my face. So sorry that I sound like Batman this week, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a long time. I haven't seen you in a while. I mean, I did see you 2 days ago, but like...
Before that,
it had been a while.
it feels like it's been a really long time since we've been sitting down here doing this and that.
Yeah, I couldn't even remember how to set up our microphones.
No, that took a long time.
So if our audio is bad, sorry.
It's Jake's fault.
I mean, yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if our audio is good, it's also my fault.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to remember how to do this.
We're off to a good start.
This is what they tune in for. You know, I think it's worth noting that our most listened to episode this year was stuff nobody asked for.
Oh, really?
And that might just be because we didn't release an episode for 2 weeks, so it got a lot of extra listens.
Yeah, there's nothing else there.
There's nothing new in the hopper. But I think also, my brother listened to it and then made fun of me for not being sure if it sounded more or less ridiculous that somebody else was paying for the Bahama flights.
Oh, yeah. That's a fair point.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that UGA is no longer in contention to win the national championship this year.
That was a bummer.
That happened a while ago, but I'm at a point now where I can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's winning the Natty tomorrow? I mean, when this comes out, we'll already know.
Someone will have won. I hope, personally, it's Washington.
So you hope that Washington beats Michigan?
I do.
Why?
Michigan's a bunch of cheaters, and Washington's, the lower seed. I always like to root for a little underdog story, and I watched Washington's quarterback just ball out, and I'm not positive how to say his name, but whenever I see it, I just say Penix, and I feel like that's got to be close.
I think it is pretty close.
Right?
Yeah.
He's cool.
He is really good at football.
Really good at football. So I'd love to see him just do his thing.
Yeah, and I know this is what the listeners want from us is cutting edge college football coverage. I want Michigan to win.
Wow, why?
I love cheaters.
That's it. That's the take.
Yeah. Personally, I just think that everybody does what Michigan did. They just got caught.
Yeah, that's probably true, but
I'm actually kidding. That doesn't factor into my decision at all.
But
I don't really care that they cheated.
Yeah, but you want them to win?
I do legitimately want them to win.
Why, though?
First of all, let me make my stance clear on cheating. The Astros, I hope they never win a game of football. Or
they
won't do that. I hope they never win another game of baseball. Because that's like cheating. In my mind, there's all of these professional sports, and at this point, college football is a professional sport. They all cheat. They just all cheat in similar ways.
Yeah.
Hey, how about you do some drug tests across the board on those boys?
No,
we don't want that.
I don't think we should do drug tests on anyone.
Just juice them up and see what the human body can do.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're talking about like PEDs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I've got off track.
Yes.
But I think that you shouldn't cheat in sports. But I think sign stealing is pretty low on the ladder of what actually matters because they're all stealing signage anyways.
The problem, honestly, and then we'll get to real things, is that they even have to do that. Like, why are you not just calling plays into your quarterback through his helmet like the NFL? Like, why are you holding up signs on the sideline? Why are we doing that in college football? I don't understand that at all. Like, we're not prepping them for the NFL. We're not. It's a funny thing that you got to hold up a sign with like a fence on it in somebody's face.
I love it. I love them jumping up
silly.
and they're doing like 80s aerobics on the sidelines trying to give signals. I want Michigan to win because I have very close friends that are Michigan fans.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That have rooted for the Dogs with me at games.
True.
I don't know a single person that likes Washington.
That's fair.
Like in real life.
Yeah.
This is no dig against Washington. Also, they're struggling to sell seats to the national. I mean, which team wants a war? You know?
Darn.
Like, they're struggling to fill their seats
That's a
at the
bummer.
national championship.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah.
Hope it's a good game. Really, is all I care about.
Well, Michigan's defense against Washington's offense is going to be awesome.
Yeah. That'll be the. Yeah.
That'll be the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, enough of that. Let's talk about a Disney card game. This is what we're here for.
Right. Don't cheat in this game either. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you should not cheat. It's been a big topic lately. A lot of
Really?
people have been talking about cheating.
In Lorcano specifically?
Yeah.
What about it? Like, why is it coming up?
Like, how do people do it? And
Are we like what to look out for, or hey,
Yeah.
here's how you can cheat?
yeah. Well, I guess it depends on the podcast, but in
Right.
general, people are like, this is the way that people typically cheat in TCGs. You can keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. What a bunch of stitches.
Yeah.
Get it? Like snitches.
Yeah. I know
All right.
what you were going for.
That's the last one, I promise.
Snitches.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. It's
What?
going to be a tie at the Natty. And we're going to get into bread.
Bread.
7.5 minutes into the episode, and we have not even talked about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we got to whip through it.
I mean, hey, new year,
New us.
same us. So, bread. What is bread?
Carbs.
Yeah?
And that's your part. You tell us now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so bread is a framework to evaluate cards to help you when you play limited formats.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Which card should you include in your deck? Bread.
Bread.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
So, an overview, we're going to go over what bread is. We're going to go over what it's not. We'll go letter by letter, and I'll give some examples of cards that fall into those categories. And then I'm going to try to make bread a little bit more Lorcana focused. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
And then we'll probably talk about college football again at the end. So, we're going to do a series on this. And by that, I mean, like, they might not necessarily be sequential, but there's a few of these frameworks for card evaluation that I think are useful.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start with, like, maybe the most basic, which is bread. This is what I would tell any beginner.
Yep.
And then we're going to move to more complicated versions of it.
Cool.
And people can take what they want. You know, if one really resonates with you, you can go with that and start there. But if you hear what I'm saying today and you're like, I don't think this is helpful for me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe something that we bring up will help you better pick cards in the future.
Sure.
So, limited in general can be kind of daunting. You know, what do I pick? It's kind of scary. So these frameworks help you evaluate cards in like very simplified scenarios so that you can build a cohesive deck. Because if you just go in blind, you're not going to have a good time playing.
No,
Limited.
I think that's in any draft and anything you're doing. That's a really important thing, is to just gather all the information of different strategies and what helps you, and then use what works.
Yeah, I went in blind in my fantasy football draft.
Yeah, how was that?
Not winning. So we're going to start with the simplest framework, which is bread. It's also probably the oldest and most common. And then we'll progress. I don't know what we'll name the series. Probably something really clever that Taylor will come up with.
Nice.
So this is like Card Evaluation 101.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, all of these tools that I'm aware of so far were made with Magic the Gathering in mind.
Oh no, there's another 1-star.
No, it was a 2-star. We got a 2-star review because I bring up Magic too much. And you know what? Hey, drop that down to a 1 because it's not changing. It's what I know, and the game's been around for 30 years. If another TCG does that, maybe I'll start talking about it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to reinterpret these a little bit. I'll go over what the framework is just as is, and then I'll sort of try to adjust it a little bit more to be more Lorcana friendly. Eventually, I'd like to make up one from scratch because I think that Lorcana needs its own because the limited in Lorcana feels very different than limited in Magic. Mm-hmm. For me, at least.
Yeah,
so
I'll take your word for it.
I think none of these frameworks really capture Lorcana super well, but I think that bread is still a great launch point for a beginner.
That's awesome.
Now, whenever you bring up bread, there's a race, right? A race begins for someone to chime in about how bread is outdated and no longer relevant to drafts in Magic the Gathering.
Nice. People probably at home already said that in their heads.
Well, I mean, in their defense, it's 11 minutes into this episode. So they've had time to type out their answer. And bread is not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a launch point for complete beginners. Mm-hmm. If somebody's been playing Lorcana for 5 years, maybe I wouldn't say to them bread. You know?
Don't say bread. Don't even speak about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even bring it up. But I think that bread is a great place to start, even though it's like incomplete and maybe not gonna win a tournament for you.
Yeah.
I think you could take bread and win a draft at your local game shop.
Cool. That's all I need.
Sick. Okay, so high level, we'll go letter by letter. Bread is an acronym, BREAD. B stands for bombs.
Bombs.
Bombs are cards that drastically impact the game. Think of like Tinkerbell, Giant Fairy from the first chapter.
Mm-hmm. Good cards.
Yeah, really good cards.
Bombs.
What we would say is an A. Anything that we would give an A is a bomb.
Sweet.
If you want to see our A's for the first chapter, the episodes are in our backlog.
Scroll down.
We gave a list of A's also for Rise of the Floodborn. R is removal, so cards that banish other characters from play, like Dragonfire in the first chapter or Namari Nemesis in Rise of the Floodborn.
Okay.
So cards that banish other cards that are in play.
Sweet.
That's removal.
Mm-hmm.
Evasion. So cards that are difficult to interact with via challenging or combat. So cards that in Lorcana have evasive.
Okay. Yes.
It's pretty easy in Lorcana because
they just have the exact name.
Exactly. But there are other types of evasion, which we'll get to in a minute. But in general, if you see a card that has evasive, it's pretty good.
Nice.
A stands for aggro.
Okay.
In the context of Magic, this just means favor lower cost cards over higher cost cards. The idea being, if you don't have a critical mass of lower cost cards in your deck, you're not going to survive long enough to play your higher cost cards.
Okay.
So for a beginner, just pick low cost stuff so you actually get to play the game.
Yeah.
And then D stands for duds or dirt or
dumb.
Anything that starts with a D that just means not very good. These are just everything that you need to fill out your 40 card deck. So you want to have a good ink curve, and this is where that comes in. So these are cards that just sort of fill in the gaps. Like a vanilla, you pay 2 for a 2/3. It's not particularly exciting, but that's the foundation of any good limited deck.
Just some fillers.
Yeah, it's the filler. It would be nice if you could draft 40 cards that are bombs, removal, or evasion, but that's just not the way it works.
No.
So that's bread.
Nice. All right.
If we were like sitting down to draft and you're like, I've never done this, what I just said is what I would say to you.
Very basic. Here are the card types.
Now, you can maybe start to see some problems with this.
Not a single one.
Okay, we're good. For example, if I just say pick bombs and you've never drafted, how do you know what a bomb is?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Or how do you know what ink curve is ideal?
Yeah.
Well, we could get into that, but that's sort of sidestepping the point of bread.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into the sort of Lorcana version of bread. right?
Okay.
Let's not get into the weeds on like, well, how do you quantify what a bomb is?
Yeah.
Let's not even go there. In the context of Lorcana, B, when I say bombs, we're going to go letter by letter. And if my voice cracks, it's not that I'm emotional. Again, this chest cough is killing me, or this chest congestion is killing me, and I want nothing more than a cough right now.
Hold it in.
So, what is a bomb? A rule of thumb in Lorcana is super rares and legendaries are frequently bombs.
Yeah.
Not always, but in Rise of the Floodborn, I would take every super rare or legendary and be okay with it, except for the Queen Disguised Peddler. I think she's actually a bad card that you should not include in your deck, basically ever.
Wow.
But every other super rare or legendary, I'm happy to get.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like super stoked. I'm not saying they're always the best cards in the set, but most of our A's fall into the category of super rare or legendary. So as a rule of thumb for a new player, you could just say,
oh, this is a legendary card.
yeah, if
That's
you see
a
a
good
super
one.
rare or legendary, you should pick it because, I mean, and it's also probably going to be worth money.
Right.
So that's what I think of. If I'm explaining to a beginner, what do we mean by bombs? That's not conclusive. I'm not going to give them a power ranking of like, these are the 10 cards to go for.
No.
If it's a super rare or legendary and it's not the Green Queen, take it.
The Green Queen.
Yeah.
What's her deal? Why is she bad?
She says tap her to discard a character card, and you gain that character's lore.
Oh,
So you are like discarding your own cards from your hand
to get lore one time.
to get lore one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. And she's uninkable.
Oof. Yeah.
So she's more like a build around and constructed type card.
Yeah.
In limited, steer clear.
Okay.
R, removal. So this one doesn't need as much explanation. It's just cards that say banish a character or cards that deal direct damage to a character.
Okay.
So stuff like Dragonfire or Fire the Cannons.
So look at banish or deal direct damage.
Exactly.
Those keywords.
Yeah, those are super important. All of them are decent.
Cool.
Even the ones that are like sort of situational, like World's Greatest Criminal Mind. It's inkable, which is why I would... Again, this is what I said I was not going to do.
Here we are.
Here I am.
You're doing it.
If a card says banish another character, even if it's situational, I would still encourage a beginner to take it because
Banishing good.
banishing is good.
Yeah.
Now, World's Greatest Criminal Mind, what I said I'm not going to do, I'm going to finish that thought. I would still encourage you to take it because it's inkable. If it has a target, great, because it says banish target character with strength 5 or more. There's not many of those, but if you have one, it's really good.
Right.
And if not,
You
ink it.
ink it.
All right, evasive. This is also thank you to Ryan Miller. This is pretty easy to understand.
Nice.
Because what's evasion? Evasive.
Uh-huh.
Why is that good? Because if I have an evasive character and you don't, you have a really hard time dealing with this problem.
Correct.
So now make that a little bit more abstract. It's not just the evasive keyword. Any character that's difficult to interact with falls into this category.
Okay.
So like Beast...
It's okay, Jake. It's all right.
You know I love that movie. Beast Relentless, what I would include in this.
Yeah.
Because he says when an opposing character... I'm just going off the top of my head. This might not be perfect. When an opposing character takes damage, you can ready Beast.
Okay.
So what's good about that is if you can deal damage to an opposing character, you can ready Beast and protect him. So now they can't attack him next turn. So he's hard to interact with.
Yeah.
So cards that ready your characters are pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially characters that ready other characters are good.
Correct.
If you just have a card that says ready target character, I would probably not play that. I don't think it's worth the whole card. But having it on the body of a character like the Beast is really good because it's very easy to ready the Beast over and over again, which means you can possibly quest a few times. But I think more importantly, it means you can protect him so that they can't take him out.
Attack. Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Evasive.
So that's BRE. You tracking so far?
BRE.
Yeah.
Brie.
Yep.
Breath.
So A, aggro. This is where bread sort of doesn't really hold up super well in Lorcana compared to Magic because you don't really want to like force an aggro deck, and that's not really what A means. I think a lot of people misinterpret it, and understandably so. It doesn't mean force an aggro deck. it means you should favor cheaper cards over more expensive cards.
Right. You don't want a deck full of really high cost cards.
Yeah, because again, if
Not gonna play them all.
if you don't have a card to play until turn 5, you're going to be in a bad spot.
Correct.
But in Lorcana, I think this isn't a super good rule of thumb, because when I play limited, here's what I want my turns to look like. On turn 1, I play a 1-drop. Turn 2, I play a 2-drop. Then a 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop. And then on turn 6 I want to be playing a card that costs 5, like 5 or 6 every time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be drawing a bunch of 1 and 2 drops later into the game. The reason that we can get away with from aggro as a concept in Lorcana is the mulligan roll is super friendly in Lorcana.
At the beginning of the game.
Yeah, because the way mulligans work in Lorcana is if I see a turn 1, 2, and 3 play, like I can mulligan everything else.
Because you're set for those first 3 turns.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like you can mulligan with this in mind, and then you can put more 4, 5, and 6 cost cards into your deck.
Yeah.
So instead of aggro, if you are...
You're going to say a bad word, Jake, aren't you?
I am going to say a bad word because I'm going to change what I think A should stand for in Lorcana.
Uh-huh.
So parents, cover your kids' ears. Again, we try to be clean on this podcast.
We're clean.
I mean, yeah, we have. I don't think we've ever cursed on this podcast.
No.
I mean, it's a Disney trading card game podcast. We want kids to be able to listen to it.
Yeah.
But I'm about to say a potty word. So I think A in Lorcana should stand for ass.
Ass. We said it.
We did. Because
Tell me what that means, Jake. Because I think I know what it means, but you tell me what you think.
Because in trading card games, cards with higher defensive stats are said to have big butts.
Yeah, you keep saying that. I need someone to like confirm this for me because.
So if you were to pay 2 ink for a 1/4, you would say that card has a big butt.
Because that 4.
Because at 2 ink, 4 is high willpower.
Yep.
In Lorcana, the reason I say ass instead of aggro is because you want to pick cards that have bigger butts.
Nice.
Even if that means they're slightly more expensive, right?
Right.
Like you want 4, 5, and 6 cost cards that have good stats because higher willpower means they're going to stick around longer. In Lorcana, you want your characters to stick on the board for as many turns as possible. And the higher the willpower, the longer it's going to be sticking around.
Yeah. You want those thick characters out there.
Yeah. You want your characters thick, and that's why BREA instead of aggro. I would encourage new players to favor, if you're looking at a pack and there's no bombs, there's no removal, there's no evasive, then look for the character that has the highest willpower.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, I think you'll go in the right direction. Because higher cost cards also are going to be higher prioritized by other people at the table.
Yeah.
Which means they're not going to stick around that long. So again, this is meant to be, I don't know if I said this up front. This is like the order of importance. First, you pick bombs.
Okay.
If there's no bombs, yeah, great. I didn't even say this up front. R is removal. If there's no bombs, you take removal. If there's no bombs or removal, look for evasive characters. If there's none of those things, just grab the character with the highest willpower. I think that's a better rule of thumb in Lorcana than just grabbing
low cost,
the cheapest character.
Yeah.
Because if your deck has 21 and 2 cost characters, you're going to have a bad time.
Good luck.
All right, D.
Duds,
dregs, or dirt. That's the word I couldn't think of earlier.
Yeah, dregs.
Yeah. So these are the pieces that fill out your curve. I would actually say that I think dirt is a good one because this is like the foundation of your deck. Like,
Okay.
B, R, E, and A is what you get excited about. But if you don't include the dirt in your deck, meaning cards that are not exciting, they're just boring, vanilla characters, you have to have them to have a functional deck in Lorcana.
We need the dirt.
Because the curve is the most important part of your deck.
Yeah.
Like curving out and maximizing your ink from turn to turn is more important than having flashy spells. So you want to make sure that you take your medicine, you pick up the cards that fill out your curve.
Yeah. Think of the dirt of the earth. We need it.
Exactly. It's not exciting, but you got to have it.
It's always there. It's always there.
Yeah. So that's my slightly modified version of bread. This is what I would say to beginner. bombs removal evasive ass dirt.
It's, it's got a nice ring to it, you know?
Yeah. I don't think it's going to stick, but I'm just thinking about if I was teaching this to you, which I am.
Yeah.
What would I say? This is what I would say.
Bread.
You have any questions?
No, I think the nice thing about bread, and like you said, it's not like a end all be all, use this, stick to it, but it's like very intuitive. It makes sense. Yeah. And I think it's like easy enough where you could take this and just go into a draft and be like, oh yeah, bread, I can keep in mind some of those strategies.
Yeah. I mean, I would like for if somebody's like, this is my buddy's first draft, what should they listen to? Hopefully tell them to fast forward to 10 minutes into this episode and then listen to this episode.
Forget the part that's not relevant to one championship game.
Yeah.
And just listen to the bread. 2.
One championship game that's already happened by the time this comes out. Okay. So, there's a lot that we could say about bread, but again, I know that people like have a lot of opinions about this. And if you know enough about limited to have opinions about bread, it's not for you. This is for beginners. Like, this is for people that are just cutting their teeth on limited. This is to help people get into the format. Mm-hmm. When Taylor's sitting down for the 2025 Lorcana World Championship, he's not going to be thinking about bread when he opens his first pack.
Far past bread at that point in my life.
And it's not even so, like, it's also not even like, oh, I've evolved to a higher level of thinking. It's just that a lot of this becomes a lot more intuitive. Yeah. This is meant to help you get better at being able to decipher for yourself what's a good card, and then what does my deck need.
The thing about bread is that by the time bread makes sense to you, you're just doing it. You're not thinking about it. You're probably just doing this process without thinking, oh, what's my B? What's my R? Yeah. Wow.
For real.
We all got a little bread in us.
Mm-hmm. Next week, we're going to talk about keto.
Keto. I've been preparing for years.
Have you ever tried keto?
No, but isn't that the one that's just meat?
No, that's the carnivore diet.
Oh, that one sounds way better.
I mean, you can just eat meat on keto. Keto's less restrictive than the carnivore diet. Keto's like you have to drastically limit your carb intake.
No more bread. It's like the exact opposite.
Exactly. No more bread. I think that was the point when they made it up.
They're like, we're sick of bread.
That was the idea.
We're switching to keto.
Yeah.
It's
all right.
Interesting.
Do we want to do a pack one, pick one?
Oh, I didn't even think of that, but we could. Yeah.
I'm reading a collection of teachings and sermons from Martin Luther King. I think it's called Strength to Love. MLK week is next week. Yep. Try to read something of his this time of year. So I recommend that. It's really good. There's sermons from at his church in Atlanta. Yeah. But I think even if you're not a religious person, they're still excellent. I mean, hot take. He had some really good points.
Some really good points. If you were unaware, is there anything that sticks out in your mind that you read in this particular one that's just like a little like tidbit you could share, or not at this moment?
From Dr. King,
from this one you're reading, like, is there anything that you've read so far that was like stuck with you?
Yeah, I just read he did a sermon on the Good Samaritan. You know the story of the Good Samaritan? Yeah. And his point was like, if we don't put ourselves into situations where we can even encounter people who are in different life situations than us, then we drastically restrict our opportunities to serve our community well. Meaning if we just stay with what we know and stay with where we're comfortable and refuse to get involved in the hairy, like, difficult parts of our community, then we're not really putting ourselves in a position to be a good Samaritan to our neighbors in the first place.
I love that.
I like that. I mean, it's stuff like that where it's like he takes stories and concepts and sort of makes them a lot more relevant to day-to-day life and more challenging. So I like a lot of his teachings. So I really recommend that. If you want something that's like less religious, because maybe, that idea turns you off, his autobiography is incredible. Yeah. I mean, he was a pastor, so religion's going to come up. But his autobiography is incredible. It's the best autobiography I've ever read.
Dang. Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah. So That's my pack one, pick one.
That's so funny you say that too. My pack one, pick one. Now I'm thinking about it because it's not something I'm like digesting like a book or something I've seen. My pack one, pick one was going to just be like routine. Like the holidays are really hard. I feel like you do a lot of stuff and you're always going, and I'm always so thankful for that. Like January, come back and get into my daily routine of like, this is what I do. I get up. It just feels so comfortable to get back to that.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about, what you just said about putting yourself in like different situations, like get out of your comfort zone. And that's something I've also been thinking about for just a long period of time of like, all that to say, it's nice to be back in your routine of things, because I think I appreciate stuff that you just get used to being mundane. You don't think about what you're doing. You're just going through the motion. Yeah. But I do want to this year, like do more different things in my day-to-day life. Yeah. So,
I mean, you're also a school counselor.
Yeah.
I think that your day-to-day job is a pretty uncomfortable experience for most people. Like if a child came to me and was like, I need advice, I can't think of something that would scare me possibly more.
No, that's just, you just don't give advice. That's the good thing about counseling.
I think that your partner would disagree with you.
Well, she's got a lot of advice for me.
Well, she's also a counselor.
Yeah, that's true.
She's a high school counselor, though.
She was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not any longer.
Well, now she works with college students.
She couldn't hack it. I'm just kidding. She doesn't listen. It's fine.
She's not listening.
She is a great counselor, just for the record.
Yeah.
Let the record show. I'll never tell her, though.
Maybe high schoolers are more receptive to, like, advice.
They can definitely... I mean, I was being honest about, like, most people don't actually want advice. Even when you're going to ask for advice, like, they don't actually want advice. Or they know what they already are, like, thinking, or they know what they should do or want to do. But yeah, high schoolers are definitely, like, more ready to have a conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, the older you get.
They have more opinions and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking I would love this, but I know that you would hate it. I would love a recurring segment where people can ask for advice.
Oh, that'd be
from
fun.
you as a counselor.
I'm in. I'm sold for that. Give me some.
And then I'm going to try to guess what your advice is going to be.
That sounds really
It's almost always going to be, have you considered talking to them about it?
That's great. I think we get a question or like, I need some help with this thing. And then we let Jake decide what he thinks I would say.
Yeah. And then Taylor will give his actual advice.
That sounds fun. We could build that in.
Yeah. I think that the world needs more podcasts where men give people advice.
Let me just explain some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a Discord where you can ask listener questions.
Yeah.
And the channel called Listener Questions.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get to them. I don't think we're getting to them in this episode.
No.
But we'll also try to answer them in the chat if we don't have time, like in an episode, to get to them. Mm-hmm. Some of them we turn into podcast episodes.
Yeah.
So if you want to make our life easier and come ask us questions in the Discord, you can find the link in the show notes.
Yep.
You can also follow us on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We have a YouTube channel, which one of my 2024 podcast resolutions is to get some video thing up at some point this year.
Yes. That's doable.
Yeah. I think my baby step, dipping a toe in, is just going to be like a set review on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Maybe if I say it, people will hold me to it.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right. And next week, we'll talk about keto.
We're coming.
And you'll get to hear the story of when I was keto for literally 8 minutes one time.
I can't wait for that.
All right. See y'all next week.
Later.